they know that they're alienating a percentage of their voters. And so it's, one of those things where you need to elect people based on trusting them and let them govern the country rather than worry about how they're going to get reelected and how they're going to get campaign finance.
Right, right. That's true. But I
And
mean,
the ironic thing about that is that belief is pretty bipartisan. You could ask people on either side of the aisle; they will all agree that the money in politics is the problem, but yet we never do anything
but we never
about it.
do anything about it. But
And it's
see,
because the money in the politics is preventing it.
but these crazy conspiracy theorists that all for some reason are attracted to IT. They either end up in IT or they go form their own militia, one of the two. But all of those people, it doesn't matter who's in power. Like the guy that they wanted could be president now, and they're still over here being crazy with the conspiracy theory. It's like, what do you want? You got what you wanted. I don't understand how you guys need lithium. Like a lot of it is what you need. You need.
I worry about those guys that go into IT because some of them are super fucking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also borderline geniuses at the same time.
Right. Yeah. But their solutions to problems look like something that Wile E. Coyote put together from Acme.
It's, I mean, there's been a long history of engineers with wacky ideas. I mean, look at the early aerospace nut jobs that were forming cults down in LA and everything else. I mean, it's I don't think it's completely unique to IT. I think it's just any side of business that basically relies on incredibly analytical people and doesn't require social skills whatsoever.
Hey, yes. Look, it's a UFO. It's a UFO.
Oh God, I worked with one of those guys.
It's right there out the window.
So my good friend Chris Gatman and I worked for a company called Stream International, and I remember he didn't smoke, but he would always follow me outside. He needed to take a break anyway, so I'd go outside to smoke. And there it was later in the day, so there's only one other guy out there. Usually the smoking area was just packed, ton of techs. And so we go out there, and there's this guy sitting there smoking on one. He's sitting on one of the benches smoking, and Chris and I are talking, and I don't even remember what we were talking about. But suddenly, a guy pipes in. We had never talked to this person before. I don't even know what his name was. I don't even think I'd ever seen him. And he says, "Oh yeah, you gotta watch out for those rock apes. They're a thing. They're real in Vietnam. Those fuckers will stand up on the ridge and throw rocks at you. And man, you gotta look out." And we both paused and looked at him like, huh. Okay then. Just out of nowhere, it's like, here he comes with his Vietnamese Bigfoot stories. All right, whatever.
But did somebody blow up his fucking truck too?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think that was you guys I was telling that last Thursday. Fuck, I'm still mad.
Yeah, I got your truck blown up.
30 years later, I'm still pissed.
So what would it cost to get you a new truck? Do you want a what? A 1990 Hummer? You want a 1990 Hummer? I can get you one. I can get you one out of the surplus store here for about $4,000.
Were the 90 ones? They actually look like military vehicles. I mean, they
those are the F1s.
I know they pretty quickly stopped looking like actual military vehicles.
No,
they turned them into bitch baskets
from the U.S. Army.
Yeah, the first batch of Hummers definitely looked like the ones directly out of the military.
Yeah,
and then really quickly they changed those. I think they were worried about the impact on roads and everything else.
Well,
I remember being at a restaurant in L.A. and Schwarzenegger and Tom Arnold pulled up in their Hummers, and they just pulled on the side of the. They didn't even park on the street. They just pulled onto the sidewalk, and it was that first batch of Humvees.
Yeah,
Oh,
The-
yeah,
the real
everybody had to
Humvees.
have one.
Yeah, you can get 4 for $8,400. Of course, you're gonna have to mix and match parts to get one of them to run.
You know, seriously, I mess around with things like RC cars right now, so that is the last thing I want to do is actually open up a vehicle these days and try to work on it, because
Right.
it just gives me a brain tumor.
Yes.
I
yes.
do RC planes. I fly RC planes.
Yeah, I do RC cars, rock crawling.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch. I'm building a Tamiya kit right now, but I started off with a Traxxas rock, like what was it? A Rustler. That
Nice.
thing was a ton of fun.
So are we ready to start yet?
Yes. Welcome
Yeah,
to.
let's do it.
We're getting a little bit of a late start, but welcome to Deepnight Revelation. We'll be picking up where we left off last week. These guys are on the Deepnight Revelation. It has jumped into the Altarian Confederation and to Lanous, right here, and they are conducting refueling operations at the gas giant, and they have picked up a signal GK, a distress call. And we will be getting into that. But before we get started, we'd like to thank a friend of the Greenwater Guildhall. None of these are sponsorships or partnerships of any kind. They are just products that we really like. And tonight we would like to thank Dogmight Games. Dogmight Games makes beautiful wooden tabletop accessories for your tabletop games, such as DM screens and dice vaults and dice trays, dice towers. They have this really cool thing called the Player Vault. You should definitely check out the Player Vault. And all of their items can be customized. If you order a customized option, usually that will ship in about 6 to 8 weeks from time of purchase. But they have a lot of options available in in-store inventory, so definitely check that out. Those items usually will ship within 1 to 2 business days from the time of purchase. If you haven't purchased, or if you've been on the fence, we have a 10% discount that's good for everything on their site. When you are in checkout, go ahead and put in the code FRIEND in all capital letters, and that will net you a 10% discount. If you like the show, if you like the games that we run, if you want to help us support the channel, we do have a merchandise store. We've got t-shirts, we've got a fleece blanket, a beer stein, there are buttons, and all of the proceeds from the merch store go directly back into the channel. So if you want to help out, go ahead and go get yourself a t-shirt and some buttons, and we really appreciate it. Along that same vein, I do have an entire campaign setting that I've developed for Old School Essentials called the Braunhaven campaign setting. The newest book just came out, the Skellis Mountains, which has some additional optional rules for 0 hit points and temperature, versus personal temperature versus exterior temperature, and weather effects such as wind velocities on ranged attacks, things of that nature, as well as, of course, detailing areas in the Skellis Mountain range itself. So definitely check that out. And those are available on digital PDF, both from DriveThruRPG and Big Geek Emporium, and print on demand from DriveThruRPG. So, where we left off, you guys had jumped, and it was a pretty boring jump. I mean, not boring, just normal. And so your science team, after a couple weeks, probably closer to like 2 months, is starting to get a little bit antsy. And you are in the Lanous system. You are conducting refueling operations, standard procedure, and one of your comms operators on the bridge alerts the captain that they are picking up what seems like a distress call. He simply refers to a signal GK, which is the old Volani distress call system. It's basically an SOS, and it is a repeating signal coming from the rings of the gas giant on the opposite side of where you are conducting refueling operations. And so he, of course, calls his mission crew, or his mission command team, you guys, the commanders, to the bridge. And he plays it over the speakers for you guys, and it is in another language, and that you are the translation systems are still in the process of trying to decipher this language, but it is a repeating signal, and embedded in that signal is a type of binary. There is a Morse code.
Now, is it binary or Morse code? Come on.
Well, right, yeah. Yes. And so, and it is just this repeating signal on the opposite side of the planet. So, of course, the captain of Deepnight Revelation, having been, he's been a captain in Navy and merchant forces for a long. It is his opinion, and of course, that you always answer a distress call.
Yeah, because there's good loot, if nothing else.
Right.
I like the way sort of thinks.
Can't we answer it from here?
You could certainly try.
I mean, it's a repeating signal, so we can try radioing them, but I think we probably need to move.
Yeah, it's on the opposite side of the planet, so I mean, not that if you're receiving it, you should be able to respond if you would like to. Who's got comms?
Not me.
I think we all can fake it. I don't think anybody's necessarily great at it. Possibly,
probably Wes.
Possibly Wes.
I don't have it. I'm -3.
Yeesh.
I have a level 0, so it gives me I have a +1 if I roll.
Sure. Yeah, this is going to be a routine check, so I mean, it can't be too difficult.
9.
Nice. So you are able to the translation matrix starts to, after listening to this thing for probably about 10-15 minutes, starts to suss out. It figures out the vowels, and from there it starts to suss out some of this message. And basically, this message is repeating over and over that they are having a reactor failure, and they have shut the reactor down. So they've got no drives, no maneuver or jump drive capability, and because the reactor is shut down, life support is limited. They are requesting a mechanical or engineering assistance.
Yep. So let's go help them out. Let's bring the Space Wizard with us.
Okay. Yeah, you can bring Space Wizard. I have to remember his name. We haven't talked about him for about 2 games, so other than calling him Space Wizard, so I have to yank him up. He is...
He is Space Wizard.
He is Space Wizard, yes.
Tom Bombadil, something like that.
Yes, that is exactly who he is. I know he's at the end of this book. There he is. David Anderek is his name. And so, yes, he is happy to go along with you. And he, as he's boarding your scout ship, he tells you that, I am probably a good choice for this kind of mission. I can be very diplomatic when I have to be.
Perfect. Let's grab a couple of flunky engineers as well, just
Okay.
in case they need engineering assistance.
Yeah, you grab a couple of engineers from engineering, and
Do we have a bot with engineering?
No, let's give the crew has not left the damn ship forever.
It's probably
giving
been a couple months at this point.
Giving people an away mission every once in a while is good for morale, and it lets them tell stories, and it keeps people.
And it's not right, and I mean it's not even so much that they haven't left the ship, but it's been drudgery. It's like every time you come out of jump, yes, they leave the ship, but what is it to do? It's to go take the pinnaces and the launch to either scan the system or scoop fuel, and then you go back and process
If it's always just us leaving, they start getting very jealous. But if they go with us and we're getting shot at all the time, they all come back and talk about how often we get shot at.
Right, yes.
So then people are less likely to want to go. They're less jealous of us at that point. So
yes,
it's good to bring a few red shirts every time.
And the ones that are excited to go with you those are the ones you want to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
If they enjoy getting shot at, that could be equally problematic.
Yeah.
Can I wear my boarding vac suit?
I mean, sure. I mean, you guys can take whatever you want with you.
Yeah. I mean, throw what you want in the ship, because we're gonna be taking probably the smaller ship over, I imagine, right?
It's up to you. I mean, you could take your you can take your scout ship, of course.
Yeah.
Or you could take a boat, or what's the other one?
Let's take our scout ship.
Okay.
At least it's got guns.
Yeah, I think I feel safer on the scout ship.
Right. Of course.
It has guns.
In case it is a trap.
Yeah. Yes, it does have guns. It's also got this nice common area. I mean, if you guys want to make a sandwich. So, you guys load up the scout ship, and Jack, go ahead and make a piloting plus dex check. Oh boy. So, I mean, that's not terrible, but so he clears the hangar, and but you are conducting refueling operations in the belt around a gas giant, and he hits a couple, scrapes up the paint job. I think that's the first time he's rolled low like that, and so you guys are like, "Wow, did you have a stroke?" And he's like, "No, just."
He was trying to do it too quickly. I mean,
right.
If he took extra time, would have been fine.
yes, because that would have been a +2 and given him an 8. So yeah, you guys get out, and at that point he is maneuvering now that he realizes the density of these belts, and he's moving around. And
have the engineers take notes on the damage that they need to fix when we get back.
yeah. The engineer's like, okay, buff that out, and
tell them how important it is.
Need some Bondo.
Who wants to make the electronic sensors plus education or intellect check?
I'll do that. I don't know if I get a bonus for the equipment, but
that's a really good question. Let's see. You've got.
I'll roll it, and we can add. I roll the 13. So if there's a
bonus,
so
1, but I have -1 for education.
So if you rolled a 13,
I'm 4, so it's
+2 on the equipment is going to give you at least a 15. And so, as you round the gas giant, it takes you. I mean, gas giants are big, and so it probably takes you a good 4 hours to adequately get through. Get above the ring system and kind of get around the edge of this this gas giant, and you see this ship, or one of these, sitting in the rings. Now, immediately, your sensor scans immediately start flipping through, and the first thing that it comes up, that your computers come up with, is that this is a mercenary cruiser. But then the computer realizes this is not a mercenary cruiser because this thing is sitting at like 5,000 tons. It's big.
That's huge. It's just getting bombarded by the ring.
Yeah, there are micrometeor impacts on it, and it seems to be canted at an angle that it doesn't want to be sitting at that angle, and it just keeps kind of turning. And as you get closer, this signal GK gets a bit stronger, and you do receive a communication. It appears that they are on backup battery power, and you get a communication that is voice only, and the language that comes through, it is heavily accented, but you can't place the accent. It's like a growling, almost guttural language and voice. Like, imagine...
Oh, they're German. They're German.
More like, imagine if Chewbacca from Star Wars started speaking English. And so this is the type, like a lot of rolled R's, but they rolled way back in the throat. And they immediately respond saying, approaching ship, we are in distress. Hold fire.
We're responding to your distress beacon. How can we assist?
We appreciate your assistance. We have a reactor issue. We had to shut down our fusion reactor. No drive. Life support failing.
How many crew?
That is a really good question.
5,000 tons. What?
It could be quite a few. I mean,
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
And a robot. Named Sam.
Well, the ship's lists a crew there that's,
About 55.
All right.
More than we could take.
No, we've got cargo space. I mean, we can jam them in the cargo hold, if we had to.
Oh, you might be surprised. But we'll get to that.
Oh, are they really, really big?
And so they are extremely appreciative, and they tell you that this is the Altarian External Trade Service Merchantmen Biaslu, and they were on their way home to Arcturus when they experienced a drive malfunction.
I'll explain that we're a scout ship from the Deepnight Revelation, right? Or we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
I know what it is. They're lankers. The ship is full of lankers.
yes, it's a whole bunch of brontosauruses that's crewing the ship. And
at first I heard him say wankers, and I was like, that a boy.
Well, yeah, that too. And
we've brought a couple engineers with us. And is there a chance we can make a repair or?
He says that they've got 20 engineers on board,
all right.
And all of their engineers are stumped as to what the problem is.
Okay.
He says, barring that, if we can at least get life support back to working, that would be a huge boon. He said that he would appreciate a tow, possible, and he tells you that that you would be afforded all manner of lodging and food and a celebration on Arcturus, on his, that all paid for, if you can help us out.
Well, there's no way in hell our ship, the scout ship's gonna be able to tow
A 5,000 ton, right?
a 5,000-ton ship. We need
Right, but
yeah.
Revelation would have no
Yeah.
problem. In fact, Revelation probably could dock it and to an external port and haul it along.
In terms of towing, I mean, there's no like tractor beam situation, so it would need to be like a manual cabling. I mean, what?
Yep.
How would towing work?
Yeah, it would
So
be.
that would really jeopardize the deep
Well,
getting into that ring.
if you guys, he says that that they have a bunch of cargo net that they could fashion into tow cables, and if you could attach it, and then or they could attach it to the or to the outside of the ship, and give you the other end to tow out of the rings. And then when Deep Night swings around, you could just attach it and tow them up out of the ring system.
Yeah,
but
there's
you're
no
right.
Resistance in space, so it's easy.
Well,
you still have mass, right?
Right, and not only that, but they're in the ring system of a gas giant, and so there is a large amount of gravitational forces here.
So
if you've ever
how
played
many
Elite
weapons-
trying to get away from a gas giant, those fat asses really grab you.
So how many weapons does this ship have?
So it does. Finally, your computer does come up with some information that from the database that it would have downloaded at Corella, and so this is what comes up. It does have some weapons on it. Now, one of the weapons that they have, you see where it says small pulse laser bay, and all of their weapons are powered down. That's not what I want. Here it is. This is an example of one of the pulse laser bays on this vessel.
Randy, you're the power system guy, right? In terms of engineering.
Yep.
Okay. So making sure we had one. I thought you were the one that trained in that. So.
I have a +2.
Now,
yeah, well.
Now, Randy, you're looking at the sensor scan of this. You've never seen a pulse laser bay quite like this, and this is a new setup. Hold on here.
Wow, that looks cool. Can we steal that?
The pulse laser bay.
Yeah.
We'll probably set you up with it. So these.
Well, since they're not powered, sure we could.
So these are. You notice that this ship doesn't really have a whole lot of. Aside from those, they don't have the usual what you would expect on a ship this size. They don't have any radiation type weapons. They don't have particles or anything like that. It seems like they are really sticking to pulse lasers, and these have a very long range. They do 5D damage, AP2, and they have auto 2. It's a bay weapon, but you've never seen anybody take pulse lasers and put them in a bay before. But aside from that, they've got
like artillery.
Kind of, yeah. Usually bay weapons, from where you guys come from, bay weapons are going to be Mason or and they do have some of their other ships do have Mason weapons, but they don't refer to them as weapons. They refer to them as deep penetration communications devices. And but aside from that, they do have they rely on these pulse lasers, and they do have point defense batteries for missiles and of that nature. But aside from that,
But for a ship this size, it's not heavily armed.
No. It seems that everything that you're seeing on it, it looks like defensive in nature only.
Yeah, I mean, a ship this size could certainly hold a crap load of weapons if you really wanted to load it up, and this seems to be a rather moderate amount. All right. Well, let's radio the Deepnight and basically let them know to begin maneuvering around. We may need their assistance towing a ship out of the ring. It's a dead stick ship out of the ring. We're gonna see if we can't help with repairs.
Okay. So. All right. So do that.
Plus, I'll radio and ask. Let's radio and ask. We don't know what type of atmosphere they. If they're having life support problems. I mean, obviously we have our own life support and could assist, but that would require them to breathe the same thing we breathe. So we might want to try to figure out what the life support needs they have.
So they send you over data. Their life support is essentially very similar to your own. It seems like maybe a little bit higher density of oxygen. It's more oxygen rich than what you might be used to, but not by a lot.
Okay.
They're insects.
They don't breathe freon, so it's
yeah, no.
It's like, so just make sure before
they're not Tholians.
We're here to help you with your life support.
They don't
find out that.
How about methane? Do they breathe methane?
No, you're good.
They exude it. That's all.
So, Jack, go ahead and make another piloting plus dex check to dock with this trade service merchantman. Nice.
By the way, when I put my wafer jack in, I have life support +3.
Nice. That's perfect. So Jack swings the scout around, and you are able to dock on this large. I mean, this is a huge area for. It's the side of the ship almost looks. Not only is there a docking point, but it looks like there is a large cargo bay and like a cargo dock. Like somebody's going to back a trailer up and just start loading up. These guys, evidently this ship does a lot of heavy merchant type activity.
They're smugglers. Aren't we all?
No, they are legitimate traders. And let's see here. Let's see where there's an airlock. Of course not. So it doesn't really matter. But you guys are docked. Oh wait, what's? So one of the things that you notice when you come up to this is that there are a lot of re-entry capsules. That's not something you guys are used to seeing. This ship has a lot of basically escape pods. Of course, the downside here is that there's nowhere to escape to. It's not like you can re-enter a gas giant. That's
into the safety of the gas giant's gravity.
Right? Yeah, that in and of itself is suicide. But you do find that there are a lot of re-entry pods, and you would imagine, and as you're docking, you realize these aren't small re-entry pods, and you make your way to the airlock. And on the other side of the airlock, there is a group of creatures that look like this.
Okay.
And these are...
How tall is that guy?
They are quite tall. So, Murians, I will tell you. Hold on here. I want to say they're like 2 meters tall, but...
Holy crap.
It's not that.
They might even be bigger than that, but let me double.
I've got a cousin that's 6'10". I mean, 2 meters. Yeah, you know.
Right? Yes. Right.
He's shorter than them.
Yeah, I just say 2 meters is not.
2 meters is 78.5 inches. Ask me how I know.
So Murians, they're quite large. 9
feet tall. 6
2
feet
meters
across.
tall and mass nearly 200 kilograms. And they welcome you aboard their ship. You've got one of your translator boxes. But they don't. I mean, they can speak like a broken version of what is known as Riftian Galanglic. It is a dialect of Galanglic that is usually spoken closer to the Rift, rimward regions of charted space are known for this. It's not a dialect that is unknown to you. It's a little weird compared to what you're used to, but it would almost be like hearing Shakespearean English versus modern day English. But I mean, you can make it out. But they, like I said, they have this deep guttural accent that at times makes them difficult to understand. And they have to repeat themselves a lot. But the one thing that you note as you step out of the airlock onto their ship is that the interior of their ship is very organic in nature. So like deck 8 here, where this is their crew quarters. There is actually a large amount of green space. And the interior hull is carved to look like trees, and in where these so-called bow branches would be, there are individual cabins that are stated throughout the ship. The ship, in reality, wouldn't necessarily need to be 5,000 tons, but their natural architecture kind of demand that, and the fact that they need all of these, they require all of these escape pods, is what demands that this ship be so large. Okay, life support and power. All right. So what you assume is the captain of the ship. You're not sure because it doesn't quite translate the way you would think, but he sounds like he's in charge. And there are a couple of guys that are wearing vests that you are guessing they are engineers. He tells you that these two crewmen will take you down to engineering, and you can take a look at it, and hopefully you can maybe suss out what's wrong. He tells you, he says, I have a fresh crew, and he says they are as new as a sapling is to stretching to the sun, is the way he puts it.
Okay.
No, sorry, go ahead.
So your problem is not necessarily a breakdown. It's an unknown issue. It's not like a damaged part or.
But they're not sure. The reactor just started to, it started to overheat, and that's kind of They were running it that way while the engineers were trying to get it taken care of, and it finally got bad enough where, and they were taking so long that the captain decided to shut it down.
Got it. Okay.
And which has put them, unfortunately, because of where they were at, it's put them in another precarious situation. But it's like the captain explains to you guys, he says, it was better to be in a precarious situation getting pelted by rocks rather than having a breached fusion reactor.
Well, we have a ship large enough to tow you out of the ring, headed here, but it'll be a bit. And in the meantime, let's try to figure out what might be wrong. See if we have parts that can help. If it's a parts issue.
Okay, so let me find it. So command. I'm going to
their life, if they're trying to keep all those plants alive, their life support's got to be a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, so they've got a lot. As you are heading up, they've got a lot of green spaces. There are a lot of pools, and it looks like these pools of water are communal drinking areas, and it looks like as you pass them, it immediately dawns on you that there should be fountains that are operating.
Right, but they powered those all down.
Right. And so, I
was just thinking about the fact that if they wanted to conserve life support, they could shut it down to certain areas of the ship. But then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, wait, they've got all these plants they're having to keep alive.
So engineering,
but plants make oxygen. So
engineering is,
but they need. I don't know if you can just have it. I don't know.
Yeah, they need lights and heat.
Yeah, well, that is the other thought that occurs. So, Randolph, you have touched on a key aspect. All of this green space actually assists the life support system, because these plants actually feed oxygen into the interior of the ship, at least in theory. Over time, that would help. But engineering is on decks 1 through 4, and these external pods, these are maneuver drives. And then, of course, you've got jump drives attached here. And then in the middle of all of this is cargo space. Just like, 6, 7... There's 7 decks, or 9 decks of cargo space. So, they are carrying a bunch of stuff, and
there's 4 decks of engines, right? I mean,
right.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, there are, and so they lead you back to deck 3 here, which is where their power plant rests, and they show you. They've got logs, and the other thing that you realize, so it's weird. You see all of this green space where they've actually grown plants and have carved the interior to look fairly natural. And then when you get to engineering and you've passed a number of displays, this ship is equipped with holographic controls. So these are not normally backwards people.
No.
So what you're seeing kind of backs up what the captain told you, is that simply he's got a green crew, and this was kind of their maiden voyage, and they just rolled snake eyes. These guys ended up in over their heads on their first trip out, and so.
Refueling off a gas giant's always tricky. I mean, it's
right. Yeah. Well, yeah. If you screw up that roll, that can cause you to have a bad day, and that's kind of where these guys are sitting.
That's my first thought. My first thought is to check the quality of the fuel.
Their fuel tanks are full, but Randolph, you can see that the fuel is, from what you're seeing, it looks like, and you're looking at holographic displays that are in another language with symbols that you don't recognize, but you're guessing when you look at this, it looks like the fuel is unrefined because the reactor's turned off and the fuel processors haven't done anything with it yet.
So we're going to probably need one of them assigned to each of us to read out loud instrumentation.
Okay.
Right? Because our translator's not going to translate written words.
Right.
So if we point at something, have them read it out loud and let the translator do its thing, type thing. I think it's probably going to make the most sense. And let's try to figure out if that's the problem. Is that they need to refine the fuel, and then do they have the power to run the refineries? And clearly, they don't have a lot of time to do that. We're in a bad spot, but.
So they are translating for you, and they do confirm your story. They were doing wilderness refueling. It was a bit of they had. He describes it as a couple of bumpy runs, and then something happened. One of the other engineers in the back says that it sounded like a clunking sound, and
That's always bad.
he mimics the sound like like a 20-year or 25-year-old housewife that goes to Jiffy Lube and tries to describe the sound that her car's making. That's what
click and clack.
Yes, that's what he sounds like. And you guys are like, we've never heard a fusion reactor make that kind of sound. It shouldn't be doing that. So
was it from the reactor, or was the sound from somewhere else?
That's a very good question. So they are. So who wants to make the electronics power? Or I'm sorry, engineering power plus education or intellect check?
Definitely not me.
I can roll it, but I think Gabe's probably better. So, but both of us are.
I got a +2.
I've got +3. So I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Does Jack even have any engineering skills?
No.
Okay. Yeah, you're strictly a pilot and shoot 'em up.
I'm a driver and shoot 'em up.
Right. Oh, and knife wielding underwear maniac.
No, that was a nope.
No, not you. That was Jack.
That was Jack.
Wow.
So I got 12.
Okay, so you look over their power ratings. They did successfully scoop fuel, and it is unrefined fuel. You are reading that the unrefined fuel that was coming in. This gas giant seems particularly dirty. And so it looks like to you that somebody, rather than throwing on the fuel refining, just switched it over and started pumping it directly into the reactor.
This doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
I'll point that out. It looks like raw fuel got pumped right into the reactor. That's probably bad. I'm assuming they have more than one reactor. Is that the case? Or is it...
trying to. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. I'm guessing that this here is their reactor, but maybe it's these. Maybe their reactors go up 3 decks, and this is actually their jump drive.
All right. Well, can we?
I don't see.
Let's try to. I'll try to work out the refining process and see if there's a chance we can route emergency power to refining some fuel.
Okay.
Because they don't need a ton of fuel to just get enough
just
maneuver out of the ring type thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, we're not trying to jump here. We don't need we don't need 500 tons of fuel. But boy, I'll bet you this thing has to make a lot of orbits to refuel.
Yeah. It is a weighty sphere. And as you guys are sitting there working in engineering, you can hear the occasional bang and clunk against the hull of the ship as
micrometeorites.
Yeah, well, what they would call
not even micro at this point.
Yeah, they're not really that micro. Yeah, anything from about the size of a river rock to a boulder is bouncing off the exterior hull of this ship. And so far, it sounds like you're on the inside of a kettle drum, but Aside from that,
Is
it seems like the armor's holding up.
I'll ask if they're in a stable orbit at least, so that hypothetically we're moving at the same speed as all the all the crap in the ring.
Technically, no. Technically, the ship is kind of in a slow tumble, and it seems to get worse the more it gets hit. So, I mean, it's a fairly unstable orbit.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, who wants to make the power check to try and... well, first, you'll probably need to make a power check to dump any fuel that's in the reactor currently.
Right.
It's going to be phase 1.
So they don't have even a trained engineer, really?
Yeah, they have one, and he tells you that he was selected because he was the most experienced available, but
Sure.
he says, honestly, this was supposed to be a training cruise, and he says, I'm not much more than, he translates out that he's not much more than an able space hand.
Right. I'm not real familiar with your ship, and so I just want to make sure if I'm about to cycle the fuel out of the reactor that I do this right. So I'm going to basically talk out loud everything I'm attempting to do and let you tell me if that sounds good before I pull any switches or hit any buttons.
So the first thing that you realize, so these holographic controls, you realize immediately where the mistake was made is that the fuel pump to the reactor controls are directly, like, separated by maybe a half-inch line. The fuel pump controls are directly to the left of the fuel processor controls. And it looks like somebody just made the mistake of hitting the wrong button.
So I will suggest that this might be poor human. What is that? It's human.
Human factors.
Poor alien factors, and that they might want to reconfigure their holographic display to keep these two controls separated.
It's like a light bulb goes off over his head, and he goes, "Oh!" And you see him like do something to unlock the controls, and he reaches over and grabs one of the holographic controls and moves it to the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
And then locks it back up. And he says,
"It should be very customizable."
Is that better?
Well, that means people will be less likely to hit the wrong thing or maybe sneeze while they're.
Yes. So, whoever wants to make the engineering power plus intellect or education check, you can dump some of that fuel.
I can do +2.
I've got +3. I got a 9.
Okay, so you can hear the rushing sound of fuel emptying out of the reactor, and it's emptying quite quickly. It doesn't seem like there was a whole lot that was put in. Whoever made the mistake was quick to shut it off.
Caught it early.
Yeah.
Heard the noise.
What?
But didn't admit it.
Well, while Randolph and Sarda are in engineering, what is George and Jack doing? I mean, I know you're in engineering probably too, but I mean, you can wander around the ship if you'd like.
No, I'd kind of like to make sure that everybody's just going to stay safe.
Okay. What about Jack?
Oh, look! I see a truck.
I'm just watching everybody with suspicion.
Okay.
All these big Yeti fuckers.
Yeah, they are. They're big, furry Yeti kind of people, but they all seem very nice. They're all.
Yeah. So did Ted Bundy.
Yes. I mean, Dahmer was a bit of an aspie, but Bundy was at least kind of nice. But so Jack and George kind of stick around and are keeping an eye on things. And the other thing that you notice, none of the Murians are armed in any way. They're not even carrying sidearms. Yeah.
They don't have to. Look at them. They're big, giant,
Right.
hairy brutes.
Well, there's that. Yes. I mean,
Do they have melee 3?
That's a good question. Well, what I can tell you is that every career out of the core rulebook is available to them. They get a +1 to strength, -2 to dexterity, but a +2 to endurance. Ooh, and their Soch is determined by 2d3 +4. And their strength and endurance both reach a maximum value of 18.
I don't want to play arm wrestling with these guys.
They have short legs and arms. Base speed for a Murian is 4 meters per round. They suffer a -1 when using tools and weapons not designed for their hand. Their hands are quite huge. They do have claws that deal 1d +2 damage. They have a thick hide, a subcutaneous fat that gives them +1 natural armor. And you can tell from their eyes that just looking at them, it's like their eyes are like gray aliens. Their eyes are all one color. You don't see any whites. And that denotes to you that they see well in low light environments. Probably have sensitivity to infrared light. And they probably are a little bit colorblind. So,
well, I'm gonna put Hunter's orange on.
Oh, okay, you know. Well, and a lot of their work vests are they really a lot of their clothing they stick to like purples, oranges, reds, browns, those colors, because that would be easy to see when you have a difficult time seeing green, blue, or violet. So like their colors are very vibrant compared to their fur. So okay, so the reactor expels the bad fuel. Who wants to make another power plus engineering power plus intellect or education to try and get the fuel processors functioning?
Wish I had an intellect or education dice modifier.
That would be nice, right? I don't know. Did Sarda want to make another power check?
I can, but I was gonna let yeah. I mean, I guess ideally, I guess I should, since mine's the highest, but just I got a 12.
Nice. So, all right, he is able to get the fuel processors functioning, and there is processed fuel now going back into the reactor. Randolph, do you want to try and fiddle with the life support while he's doing that? Engineering life support plus education or intellect.
8.
That's all you needed. So you are able to get life support back online, at least to minimal levels. They don't have to worry about gasping or going cold.
They're not going to be ice cubes.
Right. Yes.
Furry popsicles.
I was watching that episode of Firefly the other night, and you're worried that we're all going to die gasping, but we won't. We'll freeze to death first. So you get the life support up in minimal, and while they're fiddling around with this, one of the other crewmen comes up to George and Jack, and he says, we understand Dan, that you're a part of a deep space exploration mission. Did we understand that correctly?
Jack, you want to answer him?
Gonna make him take his clothes off first.
No. You go ahead.
Oh yeah, it sure looks like we are.
He says, I mean, we have some parts in our cargo bay that we would like to give to you that we think that might be handy for a deep space exploration mission. And this, of course, would be, we would just give these to you because we owe you for helping us.
I'm not opposed to free stuff. I don't know what it could be. I mean, I'm not an engineer, not a scientist. I'm kind of like a mechanic, so maybe we'll go down and we'll take a look and see what they have to offer.
Okay. So Jack, are you going with him? Or are you sticking around?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's both get ambushed. Never get ambushed alone.
So they take you down to the cargo hold, and they do have in the cargo hold they have the parts. Of course, it's disassembled, but they have the parts for one of these Murian pulse laser bays. They said, every exploration mission, whether it's exploration or trade, you always need to have protection. We threw one of these together, the parts for one. We figured that your ship might be able to use them, and so they've got one of these pulse laser bays equipped. There are crates and crates. There's probably a good 6 tons of cargo here that they've set aside for you guys. Most of it is food, and it's all fresh food. Like, there's fruits and vegetables. There's stuff that you've never seen before. There is.
Does it test okay for humans?
Well, they probably grew it in their
whole
garden.
ship's organic.
Yeah, they're probably growing fresh fruit and vegetables here.
Hold on here. I'm looking for it. Here we go.
Looking at that beak on that face, I think they must like root vegetables.
Come on. So I rave about the layout of Old School Essentials, and then there is the other side. There is the Spinward Extents book. I mean, I like the material, but their layout is fucking terrible. It is awful. There we go. I need. There is something very specific, and it's unfortunate that Wes isn't here because he's gonna really love this. So, they have also completed a trading run to the Shred Knee, and the Shred Knee are like a you've already gone way past them, but they are just core word and spinward of the Corellan Confederation, or the Corellan League rather, and but they are kind of like a technologically advanced spider kind of race, and they have more or less closed their borders, and you have to get a travel visa to do anything in Sredny space. But they have some very, very interesting things. And one of the items that these guys are willing to trade you, or not trade you, give you, is, well, there are 2 items that are of particular interest. One is a Sredny biosphere, and it's like a black fungoid sphere. Let's see. A greenish moss-like tubular organism maximized for production of oxygen and complex carbohydrates. Every ton dedicated to a Sredni biosphere will eliminate the life support costs for 2 passengers. And they've got one of these that they want to give you. The other one is a Sredni biostill, a survival ration-producing organism. So it is itself a bio. It is alive. Size, shape, and general texture of about a coconut shell. When activated, biostill will deploy a palm-like set of broad black leaves surrounding a small beak-like mouth. Exposed to light and fed water and any carbon-based material from alien plant matter to polyester, the biostill can provide clean water and nutritious rations for up to 2 people per day.
Gee, we need about 300 of those.
Well, they've only got the one.
Well, Bohefus can like clone that, right?
Yeah, theoretically, yeah. Theoretically, yes, he could try to clone it because they are bio-organic technology. So that's a qualified maybe.
So when we get stranded on a planet, 2 or 3 of us can live.
Yeah, I mean, you throw the biosphere into your scout ship and the biostill, and you guys, even if you crash land, you should be good for a while. So,
but I'd rather have my Lanker steaks.
Right. So, Randolph and Sarda, you're back up in engineering. You have about a couple of hours have gone by. You're reading the minimum amount of fuel into the reactor for powering up the maneuver drive, and just so
you've got maneuver. I don't have that one slotted, so you may need to.
I have maneuver slotted.
Consult on that. In the meantime, we've got the 2 engineering techies here. I'm going to have them, if nothing else, taking notes on the way this system seems to work versus ours.
Okay. Yeah.
Getting an idea of an alien systems and how the differences and that kind of thing. You don't often get to analyze another species engineering system.
Right. There we go. So normally this M drive will produce thrust 2. You've got enough fuel for like thrust 1, which is enough to get you out of the ring system. So Randolph, you want to make a engineering M drive plus. There you go.
12.
Wow. Okay. So
I'm rolling good again tonight.
Yeah. So the M drive is
like Wednesday night. Everything was 10 to 12.
The M drive is up and running. You do realize that so Randolph, you're going over this. You realize that not only are these M drives capable of thrust 2, but they are energy efficient and reduced size. So these are some high tech things. I mean, this is from what you're gathering. This is a tech level 13 ship, but they've got some very advanced pieces of kit.
Well, if you mention that, we'll definitely have the techies flow focus on the maneuver drive, since that's
right.
Seems to be pretty nice.
Go document everything you can about the maneuver drives.
So you get the maneuver drives active, and as soon as they go green, the chief engineer, in air quotes, radios up to the bridge and gets the ship moving at 1G thrust out of the belt, and you have successfully so far. You've kind of rescued them at this point. I mean, does any of you does anybody have J drive? I mean, you might be able to fix them even further.
I definitely have J drive. That's the one thing I'm really skilled at.
Go ahead and make an engineering J drive plus intellect or education, and let's see what you get.
This is the one I don't need to slot anything for. So this will be the one I roll a 2 on.
Right. No, that's good.
I rolled a 4. So yeah.
So you are able to actually figure out the entire problem was just bad fuel.
Yeah, okay.
And you are estimating at this point. You're both estimating that they should be capable once the total amount of fuel has been processed. They should be capable of operating under their own steam. But
are they full? I mean, obviously they had to.
They made.
I didn't know if they were whether they were in the process of refueling or whether they had completely refueled first.
They made 4 passes, and before this became really a problem, their fuel tanks are nearly full.
Okay.
And so
you some education on how to do it properly.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's just this is the problem with the holographic.
Checklist. Give them a checklist and tell them to follow it. Don't be naughty.
Well, this is the problem with the holographic controls. You can't put sticky notes on them.
Yes, there's nowhere to put Post-it notes. And whiteout doesn't work.
Yes. I just think of all the rigged systems I've seen where, make sure you do this first. It's like a little note.
So you're both of you are estimating. You're like, okay, so you got to Limpin. Once the fuel processes, the ship does have jump 3 capability. And looking at the map, they only have to make jump 2. So your estimation, of course, is that once they get back to Arcturus, they're going to probably want to dry dock and overhaul the entire system because
for sure
you're still not completely sure the extent of the damage, but so far at this point it looks like they are capable of operation. The captain invites you all to. I mean, you haven't been here more than 8 or 9 hours at this point. The captain, of course, invites you to a meal before leaving, and invites you. He says that the offer for stay on Arcturus is, of course, still open. There is, and he kind of goes into a little bit more detail about Arcturus. He tells you that it is a very beautiful world. Lots of growth, vegetation. The way he describes the cities on Arcturus is that they have a natural build. So everything is built into nature. They are one with nature. But he tells you that there is embassies. Which embassies are there? There are 2 embassies. There are 2 embassies. One with the Jodani, and there is another embassy with the, I want to say, the Talarians, which are back up here.
You mean they don't have one with dry necks?
No. And
not yet.
And actually, there is a Jodani provincial government of like 88 worlds up this direction, just past here. And both of those polities have embassies on the world, but one of the things that he states is that there no outsider, the way he puts it, no outsider or off-worlder can ever immigrate. They can't become a citizen of Arcturus. You can live there, You can do whatever you want, but you will never be considered a citizen unless you were born there. You have to be of the planet in order to be a citizen. But they recognize, the two embassies. The other thing, and he brings it up, that the Altarian Confederation, which they don't even really call it like, the Murians rule. They don't. It is a true confederation. And the other thing they brings up is that the Altarian Confederation is really the last, he puts it as the last bastion of civilization that you're going to see. Everything rimward from here is all, they're all independent worlds, and it's going to be a real roll of the dice of what you find.
So, death and panic.
In some cases, yes.
And that's
whatever.
This isn't too far out of our route, right? This green line's the route we're taking.
Right, and the green line was going to jump to Howler anyways, and so, you could swing by Arcturus and just refuel there. Or the Deepnight Revelation could jump to Howler, and you guys could stop at Arcturus and meet up with Revelation at Howler. Either way.
Yeah, it's something to discuss with the captain, I think, in terms of making that call. It certainly would be a friendly port, but at the same time, it adds a week to our trip.
Right. Yeah, and you guys are you guys are in a little bit of a rush because there is that advanced fleet waiting at Denman for you that they've been there waiting to for you guys to get there so they can do an overhaul of the ship and then send you on your way so they can go home. Right.
Yeah.
They're waiting, 2 years?
Yeah, it's going to be about 2 years, yeah.
Well, have they been waiting the 2 years? They traveled before us, so...
Yeah, it will be about... Actually, by the time you get there, it'll be about 2.5 years that they've been there.
That they've been there, or that they started on the trip themselves?
No, that they've... Well, yeah. So, it took them about a year to get there. And then...
It's a long trip just getting here.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I don't know where we are with restocking. Obviously, we started Arcturus. We probably could restock our ship pretty well. But I don't know. These other systems might be just as easy to restock our ship. I don't know.
Plus, we're bringing in how many tons of food and
that helps.
And these bay guns and these strange living tool things.
So, Arcturus, from what they're describing and what you're seeing on the interior of their ship, Arcturus would be an excellent location for reprovisioning. If even a quarter of the world is what they're describing and what you're seeing, you should be able to fully restock your stores there.
Yeah, so I'll definitely bring that up as potentially a big plus.
Okay.
The friendly port that looks like it would be very, very capable of helping us restock our stores. I do want to check their technology. how compatible are like data disks and things like that? Is it easy to transfer media, or I don't.
It's not 100% compatible, but it wouldn't be overly difficult to make some kind of bash together some kind of kit to make adapters.
All right, so maybe I'm going to copy some of the various TV shows that I've accumulated along the way.
Murian movies and holographic TV shows, yes.
Share some of our high culture.
Yeah,
they away from Bohephus' stuff because he'll love to share that.
Here's
so do they have their own version of Sex on the City?
Yes, yeah, and I'm sure that I'm sure that you guys can figure out subtitles. So
Oh, there's a translator.
There's
right?
a translator, right? Yeah, just feed it through the translator a couple hundred times, and you'll have subtitles. So
There's 6 seasons of the A Team.
it might a Murian A-Team. A bunch of Chewbacca's that are driving around in a hover van.
You got the A-Team? Can I watch it?
That's pretty much what Sarda's been doing. Every time we go to a system, I try to collect basically a whole bunch of databases of entertainment databases.
Yeah, they've got a number of entertainment. A lot of their entertainment revolves around like watching waterfalls and listening to it. A lot of it's going to make sleeping at night a lot better.
They're gonna love Michael Bay.
Yes. And so, you have made friends with this crew of Murians. Great diplomatic overture, and you are set. You get back aboard the scout ship. Jack, go ahead and make another piloting plus dex check. Wow, he's figured out the belt, and you get back to Deepnight Revelation. You give your report to the captain. The captain wants your opinion. Looking at the stores, you did, do some restocking at Corella, of course. But if this is the last, the captain tells you, if this is the last, real friendly port and government on our way out, maybe it's a good idea that we stop. It's up to you guys. He wants your opinion.
If I had to guess, I don't know if they're meat eaters, but it seems like they are definitely very agriculturally focused, and so I would imagine we're going to be able to get a lot of fruits and vegetables, nuts, things like that. It's so I depending on what stores are like, that they seem to be very friendly and very grateful, and to have a culture that revolves around agriculture. So I imagine that if we need food and those types of supplies, they can probably provide them.
I would like some strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries.
Well, they got snozberries.
Well, if they're anything like the above mentioned, then they're good for diabetics.
The captain does voice one concern. He wants, what kind of feeling did you get? He says, you mentioned that there is a Tellurian and Zhodani embassy. He says, how tight would you say these guys are with the Zhodani?
They didn't give any indication.
Yeah.
They just they happen to mention that the Zhodani, that they have these two embassies, and that the Zhodani have a pretty big empire to the, I'm going to say northwest, because that's
right. Yeah, maps. Yeah. It's
close enough.
Yeah, it's coreward and rimward. Yeah. He says, well, it
should be 3-dimensional.
Yeah, I know, right? It really should be. But God, I'd probably go blind. So he tells you, he says, I am not opposed. I know that it would add a week, but I'm not opposed to fresh fruits and vegetables, even if and possibly on the outside chance that they have fresh meat. For the most part, you guys are eating reconstituted protein paste, so a lot of soy. There's a lot of tofu going on.
It may add a week in terms of travel time, but if we are having to hit planets that are not populated and scrounge food,
that will add time as well.
It may take far longer than a week, and so having a civilized culture completely load our cargo hold with food may, in the long run, save us time versus scavenging. Which is what we're gonna inevitably hit that, right, where we're gonna go to plants and there's just not a culture there that we can even trade with, and we're gonna have to.
You're gonna have to go hunting and foraging.
Foraging, and so that foraging is gonna be time consuming, and so this may mean that we don't have to forage.
Well, guys, I'm not gonna hunt lankers again.
No, I'm gonna have to come up with an entirely new creature for you to hunt.
The laundry's still trying to get the guys, my guide's blood, guts, and gore out of my hunting clothes.
Right. Yes. So the captain.
Kraken.
Yes.
This planet only has 2 life forms: Kraken and the small plankton they eat, and so your options are.
So the captain agrees with you. He thinks that adding a week is in the greater scheme of things better than having to spend more time foraging, and so he sets a new course for Arcturus, and you guys come into port at Arcturus a week later, and this is the Arcturus system. Very small. Yeah, and
another tidally locked.
Yeah, this planetary map is fucking stupid. I do think it is tidally locked. The Murians actually mostly live in these green bands, and when I say green, they are green. They are just overflowing with vegetation. It is 0.2 AU from a type M2 5-star, and there is, of course, a large gas giant and a number of other, or 3 other bodies in the system, as well as a number of moons. And Arcturus, I don't think... I might be wrong, though. Let me...
Are they tidally locked? Is that why?
Yes, I believe they are.
I was going to say, it doesn't make sense for that pattern. I mean, if this is the dark side of the planet in the middle, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's all ice.
The other thing is that you guys have realized is that the Murians never refer to their world as Arcturus. This is a name that comes up in your navigation or your astrogation database, but they never directly refer to it by that name. They just use euphemisms for creation, motherhood, and the day-night cycle. They don't ever.
They do have a day-night cycle.
They do.
The walls fell at Tanagra.
Yes. So.
I remember that. Where did that come from?
Star Trek. The alien race that only can communicate in memes.
Already, I'm looking at this map, and I can tell you that this map is wrong. So it says that Arcturus is the 3rd world of an M2 type red dwarf, and it would be tidally locked if it were not for its axial tilt of 89 degrees. It provides daylight to each polar region for half of the 40 standard day year. Only near the equinoxes does the small equatorial slice of the planet experience a day-night cycle equivalent to its 32-hour rotation, and only as a near twilight cycle, with the red sun barely clearing the horizon for half of a day. For most of the world, 20 standard days of nightfall follows an equivalent period of day, although the twilight of dawn and dusk lasts for 70 hours at either end of the night. Resultant weather determines the pace of life on Arcturus. So, as you guys come in and go into orbit, this world, your scientists are first of all, they're kind of amazed at the 89-degree tilt. And the other thing that your scientists are all a clamber over is the massive weather patterns. So, like, nearly daily, they get rains, and it's not just rains, but it is like monsoon type, nearly hurricane force rains.
Oh boy, I've done that.
Yeah, that last, for a couple of hours and then move on. And unfortunately, that passes through the equatorial regions, but, on the plus side, that keeps it all nice and green, and there are plenty of bodies of water. And you are radioed as soon as you come in, and of course your translator has a little bit more experience, and they translate that They already know who you guys are. The merchant ship has returned. Talked of your generosity, and you are welcome to land at their starport. Well, yeah, they do have a starport, don't they? Yes.
They have an up port and a down port.
They have a Class A starport.
They just think it's cute looking at us sitting in their giant chairs.
Right? Yes. Yes. They all use beanbag chairs.
Your feet don't touch the ground when you use the toilet. It's a real pain.
Yes, right. And so yeah, no, they tell you that you are welcome to land, and I'm trying to.
So I don't. Wes isn't here, and I kind of hesitate to ask this, but we've now been traveling for quite a while. Have Wes and I determined that we're the only two psionic on the ship, or is that something we wouldn't know yet? Or I'm personally not trying to probe people or anything like that.
Yeah,
and I'm keeping on a fairly low profile. So it's maybe a question's better asked when Wes is here. And the only reason I'm asking now is that we're now possibly going to be interacting with Zodani and that.
So that is a really good question. If you're keeping a low profile,
I think I am, but I don't think Wes is.
That is good. Everybody roll a recon plus intellect check.
Wes gets a little bit of leeway coming from a race that actually is known to be psionically active.
I get a 7.
Holy crap, I rolled really good.
Nice.
Boxcars.
Yeah, I rolled my first roll of the night, and I rolled a 6 and a 5, which gives me 16.
Okay, so Sarda and George
see everything.
Sarda, so this is it's interesting that you brought that up because it's funny because I almost had forgotten about this until you brought this up. Jack, hold on here. Let me find it. There she is. So Jack, as you guys are coming in, you're walking down the hall, and Sub-Lieutenant Sir Alix Venati.
Not her again.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let's face her.
G.I. Jane here.
I was wondering what the situation was with her. Is she in jail or is she?
No, she's been out for a while. She did spend 2 weeks in the brig, but she catches up as Jack is heading down the corridor towards the bridge. You know, kind of to find out what's going on. I mean, there was of course the overhead speakers, the automated voice alerted everybody that you were exiting jump. You hear her come up, and she refers to Jack as by rank. She says, "Commander, can I speak with you for a moment?" And Jack, you turn and look at her, and she immediately stops, stands at rigid attention, and salutes.
Return the salute, I guess. Say, what do you want?
She says,
not good.
She says, excuse me for asking, sir. She says, may I know you're heading to the bridge. May I walk with you?
Sure.
So she joins you, and you are, as she's walking, she puts her hands behind her back. And as you're walking, she says, I understand that you were a Marine. Were you a Marine in the Imperial Navy?
Yeah.
She says, well, there is a group of us that are getting together on one night a week. She says it's nothing formal, but we're all either current or ex Imperial military we get together, we have a couple of drinks, we play cards, and we would love to invite you to join us.
Bitch about Navy guys.
Right. Yes, we would like to
tell squid jokes.
Yeah, we would like to invite you to join us.
I'll think about it.
Okay, sir. Well, let me know, and you have a good day and a good mission, sir. And she leaves you. George and Sarda, you have while you were in jump, just moving back and forth around the mess hall, you have determined that the ship has started to, and this is kind of expected, but the crew has formed cliques. And you already knew that one of these major cliques was an Imperial faction. These guys are always pro-Imperial. Everything has to be... These are the guys that drive around with four-wheel drive trucks with flags hanging off of them. They are the true patriots, or at least that's what they'll tell you. And everything has to be to the benefit of the Imperium, as they see it. The other faction that has kind of formed is more of... They're the nerds. They are more like the scientists and engineers.
Those are my peeps.
Right. Well, they are... that faction is a little bit disenfranchised in that they are feeling kind of left out. There's not a whole lot for them, at least so far. But they are thankful for what research you guys have given them. But they feel like they can't wait to get to Demnon, because once you get to Demnon, then the real shit starts, is the way they look at it. Now, once you get there, then you're beyond charted space, and it's a whole new ball game. And they think they will have something to do every week, every day. They're going to find something new. Is basically what they're envisioning in their heads. And then a third faction, of course, is the command crew of the ship, which you guys are already a part of. I mean, you frequently go and have dinner with the captain, and you have meetings with the captain and command crew, etc., which kind of causes you to have a little bit of the other two factions kind of have a little bit of enmity towards you, because you are kind of above them, and you of course know things that they may not know.
Oh, of course we do. We know about the fungus among us.
Well, everybody on the ship knows about that.
Oh my goodness.
But some of the two other factions kind of are feeling like they are... maybe you guys know some stuff that is possibly putting everybody's lives at risk, and you're playing chess like they're pawns. And
well, after the last deep night, yeah, possibly.
Yes, right. And so they are there's a little bit of animosity there, but it's more like crazy conspiracy theory, the type of shit that goes on a ship. I mean, when you've been out here that long, this kind of crap with that many people is going to start to take place.
I'm surprised there's so few clicks.
Oh, there's probably more. Well, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily call the other faction a clique, but there are a number of... I don't necessarily want to call them smugglers, but they are experts at getting people things. And there are hidey holes all over this ship with
the
things...
black marketeers of every ship.
Right, and they would be considered exactly that. They are black marketeers. There's stuff that would be considered, in air quotes, contraband that is stashed all over the ship. The captain of the ship knows that this is going on and has not done anything about it, because it is his belief, having been a Navy man himself, that a black market is required for any ship to run smoothly so that his crew can be happy, and that is true for any civilization. It goes from whether it is a crew of a large ship all the way to a city or a planet. There has to be a black market. There has to be a pressure valve. And so he's kind of overlooked it. There nothing beyond, like, for instance, Bocephus's still. He just completely ignores that. Nobody's showing up on duty drunk, and so it's not a problem. I don't care what you do.
And the one I support in the engineering section.
Right.
So I work with the engineers, and I have a chemistry background, so I do the safety checks on their product.
Right. Yeah. You've got the inter-engine still process down. So yes, I mean your wine is really, really fresh. But
so one of the things that I'll suggest is that maybe one day out of every work cycle, folks need to be performing a function that's completely opposite of what they normally do. So, like, scientist works
cross training.
Yeah. I mean, well, because the advantage of cross training is that it puts you in the other person's shoes, so that you understand why they're frustrated with whatever they're dealing with. But it also means that people that don't normally socialize are now being put into a situation where they are socializing with those people. So it would, rather than let the Imperials all hang out with the Imperials and the scientists all hang out with the scientists, the command crew all hang out with the command crew, you're forcing scientists to do security duty, or, and so they are meeting and getting to know. It cycles the crew through different groups. It means they are socializing and fraternizing with people they normally wouldn't fraternize with, and they're also becoming sensitive to the needs of people's other jobs.
Good plan. Excellent way to handle that. You sound
Plus, frankly, it'll help with boredom. If people are starting to get bored, you're learning something different that's different than what you're doing every single day. So maybe that one, I don't know what their work cycle's like, but if like one day out of 10, you're not just analyzing sensor data, that probably is going to be helpful, to be doing something completely different,
Right. I mean, that is a good managerial decision. Oftentimes the response to that is, Jesus tits, shut the fuck up and do your job. It's like, that's usually the response that you get, but that's an excellent idea. Cross training, not for the fact that you need people to gain other skills, but to actually socialize with the other parts of the crew that they don't normally socialize with is a better idea. Maybe they'll gain.
Plus, it's the main reason
cross training is just a plus.
The main reason people hate this whole thing in reality is because most businesses are running so lean on personnel, that you feel like you're completely swamped. And so why don't you let me do my own work instead of having to waste time? But
you've read my mind.
We're facing an opposite situation where most people are sitting on their thumbs and doing a lot of just busy work to keep busy.
Right.
And so they're probably would welcome a change of pace and a change. If we're completely slammed, screw that. We go back to our specialties. But if we're, like this, where it's not exceptionally, if you're just you're doing extra cleaning duty. If you're cleaning your desk 3 times a day to stay busy, having something different to do is just, helpful.
Right. So, Jack, if you're going to go, there is no, from what I'm seeing, there is no, they do have a Class A starport, but I'm not seeing that they actually have an orbital habitat. So
I circled the starport.
Oh, you found it. I see it. Yeah. That looks as good of a spot as any, but I don't believe that that's where it is.
Well, if you take away the circles, I think you can see the cross.
Let me see. I see. Yeah. What is that? Let's see. That shows that there's a city there.
Yeah, I think it has a cross with it as well. How many circles do you see?
Oh, you are correct. There is a cross right there. Yep, that is the starport. And so do you guys want to land in the Destinex, or do you want to take a ship's boat? What do you want to do? I mean, either way, Jack's driving, but
does the captain want to come down? I mean, the reality is we're in actually kind of a diplomatic situation here, where we're being welcome to the planet and everything else, and so I don't.
He kind of feels that you guys are the ones who made contact, and so if you're able to go down, if you're able to carry that along, you are the best decision to make further contact.
All right. Well, let's grab some of the social engineers.
Okay. So grab some nerds,
anthropologists and the anthropologists and other the cultural engineering folks that have been absolutely bored shitless.
Right. And then what ship are you taking down?
Also, if we've got botanists, maybe bring one or two of them down. This place, their whole culture seems to be pretty focused on.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's bring the scout ship to.
Just so you can fit everybody in it. Okay. So you take down a whole crew. Jack, go ahead and make a piloting plus dex check. Let's see how well you do doing atmospheric duty. Well, shit, you made that look easy. Okay. Jack, doing what Jack does, brings you down to Arcturus. And this is what their cities look like. All of the buildings, so you land at they have a Class A starport, and this is their starport. They've got fountains, they've got rivers, they've got, open air markets. All of the buildings don't go very high, and they're all of the first thing that you notice is all of their buildings are short and fat, and the immediate thought that occurs to you is that, well, yeah, because they get a monsoon with hurricane force winds every day. And so their buildings are kept low to the ground, they're sturdy, all of their windows are made so that they can be shuttered and protected, and they have a very agrarian lifestyle.
I'm frankly surprised they're not living in like hobbit holes.
Right? Yeah, underground. Yeah,
that's the suburbs.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and a lot of these buildings do have sub basements and things like that. Like you'll walk in and go down, 20 feet into their main living area, and then they do have some higher tiers, but most of the buildings are just short and fat. And so you get down here, and you are greeted by the first of all, the captain hears, the captain of the trade ship hears that you were coming down and meets you at the starport, and he shows up in an air raft and offers to basically give you guys a tour of the capital city of Arcturus, which is basically the Star Town. And so he's driving you around. These trees are immense. They're huge. The air here is breathable by you guys. It is a little bit. Go ahead.
These guys are huge Ewoks.
Right. Yeah, the atmosphere here is a little bit thicker than you're used to.
The original intent was for them to be huge Ewoks, right?
Right. Yes, they are. That is exactly it. They are huge Ewoks, and so, I mean, everybody here, the whole place seems exceptionally friendly. He does take you past. He points out the Tellurian embassy, and he points out the Jodani embassy, and the Jodani embassy sticks out because it is a very unique architecture. You can tell that the Jodani showed up, and it is their style of architecture, and you can see a number of Jodani people, entering and leaving and moving around, but even they seem oddly happy and in good moods for Jodani. Usually Jodani people, all the ones that you've ever met, are very serious folk.
Grabbing one of the anthropologists to come with us.
Okay.
To get the tour with us so that they can, because this is probably a lot more information than they would get if they were just sort of asking around on their own.
Right.
And so, yeah, let one of them take the tour with us.
So I'm going to, we are going to stop here, and we'll pick this up next week. But you guys did a really excellent job being diplomatic and handling the engineering and helping these people out. I'm giving everybody 1 experience point to spend where you would like.
Trying to remember what I was focusing on.
And
Too bad I can't put it on education.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
You could save up, right? I mean, it's very expensive.
You called me a sword wielder.
Well,
so
technically, I mean,
grade 1.
Technically speaking, so out of the alternate XP rules from Traveler Companion, you're supposed to spend the XP immediately. But if you want to save them up,
but that would mean you could never get anything above 1.
Right, I will allow you to save them up. And
plus, if I recall, that chart actually had stats on it too, and those required quite a few points.
Yeah, and this is weird. So
the physical stats were half the cost of social educational.
Right.
Educational. Social you couldn't raise that way. Social you raise by spending money. If you live above your lifestyle for 6 months, your social is supposed to go up by 1.
So my 1 house rule is that nobody can have any skill above rank 4, so no skill above level 4. And the reason for that being is that if you read the descriptions, if you're at level 4, you're so well known and so good at what you do that you're like known throughout the sector. People actually travel across a sector to find you to do what you do. So rank
that's where I'm. That's where I am with engineering and sensors both. So
yeah, because I've been saving up my XP to increase my gun combat.
Let me add this, and that way. That way we just have it, and I can just pull it up.
I'm going to train Diplomat to 0.
That's an excellent idea. So there we go. So this is the skills chart. There is one for characteristics as well, but we'll worry about that when we come to it. So yeah, I'll let you save up your skill points.
Yeah, I need 1 more skill point to raise my my gun combat, because that's how I use diplomacy.
I mean, right? Yes. I believe in peace through the superior power of firearms. Ideally,
Strategic Air Command.
Yes,
is our profession.
Ideally, you would raise up skills that you have kind of used, and so like started raising up diplomat. That fits. Even though he didn't have to make any rolls for diplomat, it fits because that's what he was doing.
Right. All right, cool.
Okay. I will see you guys next week at 7 o'clock on Friday, and we will move forward with filling your stores and moving on to some rather interesting stuff. There's still a couple of interesting things for you guys to run into on your way out here, and but I'm almost to the point here where, because it's going to start getting fewer and fewer civilized planets in between where you're at and where you're going, that I'm just going to skip a lot of that, just for just for ease of play.
Who wants to sit here and gather up fuel from a gas giant.
Right. I mean, exactly. And I mean, so there's a lot of it that I'm looking at the trip and I'm like, no, that's boring. That's boring. That's boring. Enough. Let's get to where we're going. As the referee, I'm now to the point where I'm like, okay, let's let's get the show on the road. And but I wanted to get through Beyond and Vanguard, and this is the last really of Vanguard sector, and so I wanted to showcase the Murians and show you guys some of the. So like I said, the Jodani are out here. They're a long ways, and that this is kind of a part of that. So yeah, we'll be moving forward to Denman fairly soon. All right, I will see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
All right, have a good night, guys.
Take care, everybody.